welcome. We appreciate your time, your lunch hour. Thanks for being here. We'll have Heather McMillan do some area updates. So through our different teams, you'll get to hear some of the exciting stuff we've been working on in the past year. We have our County Commissioner, Josh Slotnick, with us today, a former board member and huge supporter of our organization, who will give a reflection on those 30 years and the growth that he's seen. Carissa Trujillo, our executive director, will give the vision and looking towards the future. Julie Pavlish, our program and operations director, will highlight our board and staff members. We'll give you a quick heads up about some upcoming events, and then we'll open the floor for Q&A. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat or write them down, and we'll open the floor and do our best to answer them. So today is also Giving Tuesday. Our campaign for the hour, for the day, is to raise $2,000. We have, on Giving Tuesday, we have already raised $525, and we have a 2K match. So your dollar will be doubled today. If you're able to give, I'll pop the giving link in the chat here once I pass it off. And if you've already joined the call, we already consider you a supporter. So thanks for being here. And we know that you all support various organizations in your time. And yeah, we appreciate you showing up and believing in the work we do. And we're excited to show you a little bit more of that today. We do have a new legacy giving program. So at our 30th anniversary, we began to ask folks if they were interested in putting Homeword in their living will or estate plan. If that is something that you're interested in doing, please contact me or get in touch. I'd love to talk to you about that. Just looking to diversify the ways that we can continue to build homes that Montanans can afford and provide accessible education for generations to come. So yeah, without further ado, I am going to hand it over to Heather McMillan here, who will be going over some of those important updates for you.
Thanks, Jack. I just want to say, I'm pretty sure they gave me this gig because I've been at Homeword for only 21 of the 30 years. So I have to bear with me if I bounce through a few kind of fun stories along the way, and Josh can confirm or deny as we move forward. But again, my name is Heather McMillan. I'm the project development director here at Homeword. And I have the pleasure of working with probably one of the most incredible, most passionate teams of individuals at this organization. We've had a lot of people come and go over the years, and I've just have never been more surprised. I'm not surprised that we get such incredible people. So I'm thrilled to be able to talk a little bit about what we're up to and kind of the different areas of the organization in which we touch and work on housing issues around Montana. So Homeward believes with passion that we are diverse and that everybody deserves a safe and healthy home around Montana. And so that's how we spend our days, is working on those issues. Our incredible team is responsible for over 1,600 homes in 14 different communities around the state. Thank you, Andy. There's a nice graphic of where we are currently, and we may be doing some more work in other communities so we can put more dots on the map. I want to talk a little bit today about Creekside. Creekside is a project that we acquired, Homeward, in 2017. We knew the simple fact that if this property went to market and it was being advertised as market, that everybody that was living at Creekside would be without a home. There were what we call affordability restrictions, and they come when you use tax credits or home dollars to build homes. There's deed restrictions, but they don't last forever. And so the deed restrictions on Creekside were going to burn off in 2026. And so the people selling Creekside knew that. And so we competed pretty heavily and were able to aggressively outbid and acquire Creekside in 2017. That said, we also knew that the building was in need of very significant capital needs. And so we are actively working on this project. We were awarded, and this is where I'll talk a little bit about the tax credit program. There's a 4% and 9% housing credit program that can come from the feds and are administered through the state. And if you want to know more about it, you have to take me out for a beverage and we can have a longer conversation. But we did this hybrid structure because Creekside is 161 homes. It's a very large project, and come to find out, buildings don't last forever. And the capital needs on that property required all the major systems to be replaced. And so right now we're looking at replacing the roof, the siding, the windows, heating and cooling, and as far as we can stretch the dollars to breathe life into the property and hopefully get another 50 years of affordability out of it. But again, part of this adventure on Creekside was really important to express to funders that, hey, guess what? Buildings don't last forever. And so you have to reinvest in housing. And so Creekside was our first attempt at educating and talking with our city staff, our state staff, and just really making that case. And so we have hired our architects and our contractor and moving forward on that project. And we'll be getting quite a significant facelift through 2025 into the next year. Another project we're working on is called LB Lofts and Laurel Gardens. And I'll explain LB Lofts and all of those pieces, but the fun part about this is that this is a project in Billings, and this is a project in partnership with HomeFront, which used to be Housing Authority of Billings. At a housing conference in Billings years ago, Patty Webster took me off the tour bus, and drove me around and said, hey, guess what? We've owned and developed and managed properties for 50 years, and we don't want to develop anymore. So they hired us as their developer. And so we are their developer, and they will own and operate this project. LB Lofts is located up on Sioux Lane in the Heights in Billings, and it's 101 homes. The cool part about this project is that it's actually made from recycled they were called pods. Again, I can explain more later, but they were basically bedrooms and bathroom units that were out in North Dakota at the oil fields, and they're recycling those pods into 2-bedroom homes in the Heights. And so we'll have 101 homes when we're done. Again, we're using that funky 4%, 9% hybrid project structure that, again, we can talk about at a later date if you'd like. And we're building those 101 homes. What I do have to point out is that because we don't like vanilla, and Bruce Brensdell with Montana Housing called me out on this in a meeting, but because we don't want to make things simple and we don't like vanilla, we decided that we would also add in a project that HomeFront had purchased. They had saved, similar to Creekside, they had saved Laurel Gardens, a 30-unit apartment complex in Laurel, but it housed seniors and people with disabilities, and their period of affordability was going to burn off. And so in 2000, they bought that property and immediately infused $2 million into the capital needs of the project. That only took care of one phase. So we're bringing Laurel Gardens into the 4% side of LB Lofts so that we can finish the very critical capital needs associated with that property, interior finishes, systems, again, and basically finishing the job they started over the last few years. And again, as I said, it's not vanilla, but it's using that hybrid structure and as a really efficient use of our very limited housing resources in Montana. So we're really excited about that. And we were just awarded the 9% credits in October of this year, and we're moving full steam ahead on that project in Billings with HomeFront. They're an amazing partner. Go ahead and flip the slide, Andy. Just a quick shot of some what they're not going to look like little Bakken units. They're going to look like they're going to be 5 plexes and 6 plexes. This is the last large parcel on a very large parcel that was purchased by Lucy Brown. And Lucy Brown I met her at my second day in housing years ago, one of the most intimidating women I'd ever met. And my whole career I have spent trying to make her smile. And so I was able to complete that. She has since retired from HomeFront. But what she did was she bought a lot of acreage up on Sioux Lane. It was an opportunity years ago. They developed 5 different projects on those parcels. And this project, LB Lofts, aptly named after Lucy, is the last large parcel available up there to complete the HomeFront community. So we're thrilled to be working as partners on this project with HomeFront. When I say that we have passionate staff individuals and team, I mean it. We have an incredible project team, and that includes our development team and our asset management team. We work together on these projects, and we as a collective over the last 30 years have built a lot of projects and preserved a lot of projects. So long story short, we have a huge portfolio. And again, as I said earlier, buildings don't last forever. So our asset team has been phenomenal. They have been working their tail off for the last 3 years to get as many resources available at their fingertips to help save these units and these apartment complexes. What I'd like to talk about before we go into the detail of that is our residents. There's a reason that we're passionate. We have over 2,700 residents living across the communities that we've developed or preserved in Montana. And they all moved into these homes at 80% area median income or below. We can again have a beverage and talk about the details of that and what that means. But really, we've been housing individuals for a really long time, and we have been housing them affordably. And what I think is also really cool is that we value inclusivity. I said I wasn't going to say that word, but being inclusive. But our residents reflect a very diverse cross section of the Montana communities that we work and live in. And that's pretty exciting. We have shared values, and we want to create those equitable housing options for those individuals around Montana. All Montanans deserve a safe home over their head, roof over their head. So back to the fact that our team works their tail off is that they have accessed federal, state, and local funding. They've done 3 full roof replacements. I should explain something. On our projects, and we are capped at how much rent we can charge, which is great. Everybody there pays a third of their income. It's wonderful. It's a great program. But we pay absolutely all market rate expenses. So it's not a good math equation. It's very difficult to keep these properties operating, but our team has done an amazing job. We can't put money into savings account like our home buyer educators talk about to replace the roof, replace the major systems. It's just hard to do. It's a thin margin. And so our team has been able to access several grants, both federal, state, and city, replaced roofs, boilers, water heaters, chiller components at our Acme project in Billings. There was an amazing gift to Homeword. We had gotten some grants and done some work at Lenox Flats, which is pictured in this picture here. That project is one of Homeward's very first tax credit projects. It's an old historic building. It needed a lot of work. We got what we could do done, the chiller, those really kind of building component pieces. But then Windermere came to us and said, could we spend a volunteer day and bring about, 50 people out and do some TLC on the project? It was amazing. She looks great. You really should go take a look. They just spruced everything up, did all the things that we never have time or money or capacity to address. First Security Bank bought lunch for everybody. It was an amazing day. Staff threw in. We had a lot of fun. So we've been getting as creative as we can to maintain and keep these properties operating for long-term affordability. On a less fun note, I talked about the equation, insurance. Everybody's favorite subject, but it's a necessary evil. Insurance rates have increased, especially on multifamily, at least 20% over the last couple of years. That doesn't sound like a lot, but deed restricted affordable properties have been hammered with cost increases of up to doubling or tripling the cost of insurance. That makes it very difficult to operate the projects. Of course that happened. I apologize. Carissa has been working closely with Montana Housing, the Federal Reserve of Minneapolis, and a lot of recent partners like the MacArthur Foundation to talk about what's happening in the multifamily world with insurance. Our properties can't afford the insurance that is absolutely critical to operate and protect the properties. My apologies for the coughing, but again, it just chokes me up, and it's very difficult to work in an environment in which we can't control certain costs. What I'm most excited to talk about, I work with a project team that's amazing, but what happens at Homeward is not just projects. Our HomeOwnership Center is amazing. They are a HUD certified housing counseling agency, and they help over 1,000 people a year and have been doing that for the last 30, which is just outright amazing. When it comes to diversity, something that I do want to point out is that we actually had a Swahili translator at this class because there were a lot of people coming in of a diverse background wanting to learn about home ownership. So this was pretty amazing. And that's Julie Pavlish, one of the amazing team members and educators, and now an operations director at HomeWord. One thing that was really cool is that Katie and Julie planned this and launched a strategies for successful home ownership. I think it's really important to understand, great, you got into a house, but really, are you ready for a massive remodel? If you saw the cat walk through earlier and there's nothing in the background, we're remodeling our house and trying to stay in it and affordably. That's the kind of thing, like how do you maintain your boiler? How do you maintain heat? How do you keep your home running? Those are the things that those educators have been able to do. And so they've served 9 clients to date because the program just started with some pretty intense counseling, which is amazing. The other piece, help for homeowners. Yeah, buildings don't last forever, homes don't last forever. So there's credit counseling and all those pieces, but there's also that free counseling also leads to access to housing assistance funds for homeowners who are behind on their mortgage. The insurance is jumping up for homeowners as well, utility bills, or being able to do some critical repairs. So we help with accessing those housing assistance funds. I believe the homeownership team has addressed the needs and worked with over 99 people at this point, and that need continues to grow. The last plug I want to point out is that we have pretty amazing volunteers, and we have for decades. These classes are not done in a vacuum. We use a lot of real world volunteers. There's over 30 industry experts with spending over 100 hours a year volunteering for these programs. They give instruction and they explain the complications of their field. They're amazing. We are always looking for people. So if you have any interest, we would love you to reach out. And if you have any interest in volunteering for classes, we would definitely entertain that. It's wonderful to get people from the community in to do things with real live experts in the room. So shout out to the homeownership team. They're amazing. Now, I guess it's my privilege to pass this off to, I should say, County Commissioner Slotnick, but he's Josh to me because he was a board member when I started at Homeword. He's an amazing partner. So Josh, if you don't mind taking it away and talking a little bit about our history and adding to what I just talked about, that would be amazing.
Okay. Can you guys see and hear me?
We can, Josh.
Okay, great. Thanks. Damn it. Thanks a lot. That was wonderful. Wonderful bit of intro there. So as Heather said, I was on the board 20 some odd years ago. And even before that, if we go back into the 90s, I remember chatting regularly with Ran Essene, who was putting together Homeward when I was attempting to put together Garden City Harvest. So my affiliation with Homeward goes way back, and I'm super proud of that. I do want to mention a few statistics, some things that were sent on that I just think are really remarkable. As we all know, the Missoula area and Western Montana and a whole bunch of our state have just been on a growth tear for decades. And I want to say, and these stats bear this out, that Homeward has more than kept up with that growth tear, but I would say grown even faster. And as the need continues to expand, Homeward continues to expand its ability to meet that need. So here are some interesting stats. So back in 2004, Homeward had 7 properties. Now they have 35. Back in 2004, they had 73 homes. Now 1,609 homes. Back in 2004, 2 communities. Homeward was in 2 communities. Now, as you saw from Heather's map, across the state, 14 plus communities. And as Heather brought up the HomeOwnership Center, now more than 20,500 people have received assistance and education through the HomeOwnership Center. Those are some great stats. I also want to reflect a little bit on the county as an organization where I work. We're super proud of our association with Homeward, and I want to outline a little bit of it. First, we continue to fund Homeward through CAF, their Community Assistance Fund. We also have partnered up Lately, the latest things with the MacArthur Foundation, something called the Safety and Justice Challenge, and a program called Just Home, where the county and our Community Justice Division have partnered with Homeword to create some housing specifically for people who are involved in the justice system. And this is really unique and I think groundbreaking, and speaks to Homeword's ability to be responsive to the specific needs of this place. The future, I feel like, looks bright, even though as our community and communities become ever more exclusive and more expensive, I anticipate us continuing to work closely with Homeword and inventing new ways together that we can address these needs. So there you go. There's my brief update over the last 20 some odd years. I want to just close saying we couldn't be prouder of our association with Homeword, and realize that our success as a local government really depends on partnerships with organizations just like Homeword. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Thank you so much, Commissioner Slotnick. Last year when we hosted the State of the Organization, I had been interim executive director for less than 2 weeks. And the year has been incredible. And I'm excited to share some of what we're working on as we head into 2025. As Commissioner Slotnick mentioned, we are proud to have been selected along with the Missoula County Community Justice Department by the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation to participate in this National Just Home project. Big shout out to Chelsea Whitman, who's our partner in this, the person that works with the Safety and Justice Challenge for the county. By addressing the link between housing insecurity and incarceration among our justice-involved community members, we aim to enhance their personal stability and our community safety. And Homeword recognizes that there are significant challenges that many of our Missoula County neighbors face in securing rental housing. And this partnership is really an opportunity to expand the range of available housing options. I think, like the commissioner said, it could be groundbreaking and it can be really impactful for some of our highest needs community members. And we're really excited to move forward with this work. We have had a lot of ideas on what housing interventions we want to accomplish with the Just Home project. And our first focus will be on transitional aged youth. And so 18 to 24-year-olds who are transitioning out of foster care system or just into adulthood and may need a little extra support when it comes to finding housing. We've been meeting with our incredible service provider partners to learn more about the gaps and needs within our community. And our next move is going to be to actually meet with the youth who are a part of this transitional aged youth population so that we can understand the needs from their perspective and really try to create an intervention based on their feedback and what we're hearing from our partners, as well as best practices from across the country. The photo there is a site visit that we did to Minnehaha County in South Dakota. We went there with our partners from the county and learned about what Cohort 1 in Just Home had accomplished, and really were able to network with our fellow Cohort 2 members to think about different ways that we could make this opportunity available here in Missoula. We are really excited about moving forward on this new adventure with our amazing partners at the county. Some additional excitement for Homeword. We are fully staffed. Heather mentioned that after a year of transition, we are now fully staffed. You're going to hear from Julie Pavlish, our operations and program director, who's going to just talk to you a little bit about who we have on staff. But now that we are fully staffed, our plan is to really focus internally on our organizational strength and succession planning. There are a lot of growth opportunities for our organization as we continue to respond to community needs and market conditions, while we also stay aligned with our strategic plan and the guidance from our board of directors. So our first priority is actually going to be to hire a third project manager to join our development team in 2025. This will ensure that we have the capacity to keep up with the needs of development and also take an opportunity to document processes and systems for training and succession planning and organizational stability. So keep an eye out for this position opening up next year if you're interested. We are a really incredible team. So. We are also looking forward to the upcoming 2025 legislative session. Homeward's been actively participating with the Montana Housing Coalition to meet with legislators during the interim as they're preparing to start their session early next year. In July, Heather and I toured some Yellowstone County legislators around our Billings properties, and we will be meeting with Senator Daines's staff next week at our Bats Block Apartments, which is permanent supportive housing in Great Falls. And then Jacqueline and I participated in some conversations with area legislators in Missoula and Flathead County a few weeks ago, just to discuss the work that Homeword does across the state and the priorities of the Montana Housing Coalition that they have listed for the 2025 legislature. And you can see those there on the screen. Hopeful funding of a workforce housing tax credit to allow us to use the federal tax credits that Heather was talking about, really maximize those. Additional funding to the multifamily Coal Trust Homes program. That's something that was funded in the last legislative session. That's really allowed a lot of housing to be built through that funding source. And then looking to one-time only funding for Housing Montana Fund. Those are their 3 priorities. And we know that connecting with legislators in between sessions is really important. And we've been really focused on that. We want to know that when they are in the thick of the legislative session, they've heard from us and they understand what our priorities are, but we can also act as a resource for them. If they come across something that doesn't make sense regarding housing, they know that they have a partner in Homeword to really reach out to for expert opinion and advice. Funding for housing is going to be critical for us to continue to support Montanans who need a safe place that they can afford to live. Before I brag about the awards that we've won this year, I want to check in with Jack about where we are with our fundraising goal.
Yeah, we have raised $1,400 out of that $2,000 goal. So we are getting real close. Thanks for everyone on the call who's participated. I think I'm feeling hopeful. I'll knock on some wood, but I think we're going to be able to hit that goal.
Awesome. Thanks, Jack. All right. Okay, so before I hand it off to Julie Pavlish to talk a little bit about staff, I want to take a moment to focus on the present and our amazing team. This past year, Homeward has really racked up the awards, and I couldn't be prouder. We were honored with the 2024 Missoula Job Service Employers Council Employer of Choice Award, first regionally, and then we were surprised to get actually a recognition at the statewide level. And this underscores our commitment to a positive workplace culture and retaining dedicated staff. Our Crowley Flats property was recently featured in the Novogradic Journal of Tax Credits in their historic tax credit issue. The Crowley Flats project transformed a historic building in downtown Lewistown into 16 affordable apartments with a medical clinic on the main floor, preserving local heritage while also addressing critical housing needs. Blue Heron Place was nationally recognized and received an award of merit from the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials for innovation in resident and client services for special needs housing and social services programs. It is a mouthful, but it's a really exciting national recognition. Alongside our co-owner, the Missoula Housing Authority, Homeward developed Blue Heron Place using the permanent supportive housing model, which combines rental assistance and wraparound services designed to help residents succeed in maintaining their housing while they work on any other barriers that they have. In combination with our project-based vouchers from MHA, the residents receive on-site case management and mental health support 24 hours a day from our partners at Partnership Health Center and the Poverola Center. And last but not least, on Philanthropy Day this year, we received the Philanthropy Day Outstanding Nonprofit Award by the United Way of Missoula County's Missoula Nonprofit Center. So it has been a really wonderful year for Homeward. And we've really, it's our 30th year. We celebrated 30 years this year, and we've really spent a lot of time considering what the next 30 years will bring for Homeward and the communities that we support and the partners that we work with. We know that with our collective efforts, we can shape a future in which every Montanan has an opportunity to live in a home that they can be proud of, and our communities are resilient and inclusive and financially stable for generations to come. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Julie Pavlish, our Operations and Program Director, to talk to you a little bit about our staff and board.
Thanks so much, Krista. Just making sure my mic's picking up good. Everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. All right. So I am thrilled to be able to highlight the amazing group of professionals first who come from around the state to come together, guide our organization, and also provide critical and strategic input all year long. So I'm not sure if you can go to the next slide there, Andy or Jack. Perfect. Excellent. So these folks, their 9 to 5s include a variety of positions. And they bring to us expertise from a wide range of fields, from the legal field, engineering, lending, program directors, all sorts of things to help us with those strategic decisions. I'd especially like to offer a special thank you to our executive team. So Jessica, Meg, and Jason, thank you all so much for all you do for us all year long. And now, and really the whole board, we offer our endearing thanks. I get to have the honor of getting to introduce you to our entire team here at Homeword. So let me introduce you to the folks who have led the day-to-day work on all of the amazing ways we have been able to meet our mission this last year. First up is our leadership team. This includes Matt Joseph, our finance director, Heather McMillan, our project and development director, and myself as our operations and program director. But overseeing this team and guiding our organization at large is our executive director, Carissa Trujillo. I think that her expertise and leadership throughout this year of transition speak for themselves. And today I wanted to share a bit more about our staff than what you will find on their formal bios. You can look at all those there on the website. So for Carissa, for those of you who don't know, she is a talented singer who actually was lead singer in a band called Dry Spell. And some of you may have joined us this last March at our luncheon downtown and may remember that we had to put Carissa on a box in order to get her to reach the microphone. It may come as a surprise then to many of you that she was also a pole vaulter in her high school days. So she got right up on that box, just was able to do it. So next up, you'll find our development team. I will let them pop up here. So this team is comprised of the 3 musketeers of Julie Steitler, project manager, Liz Stotts, project manager, and Heather McMillan, who is our project development director. These dynamic ladies do an amazing job creating homes throughout our state. Outside of their demanding jobs, though, this trio is always up for a board game. Their favorites include Risk and Monopoly, to no one's surprise. But also, a rousing ground of Uno has never gone amiss with this crowd. All right, so our finance team, at first glance, you may think that these two are a reserved bunch. But the important role of making sure that the financial health of our organization is well looked after, you'd expect their game to be something like payday or something like that high on their list. But Laurel Ramsdale, our finance manager, would rather opt for world domination with a round of Settlers of Catan. And although Matt Joseph, our finance director, would like you to believe that solitaire is his game of choice, he has been known to enjoy calculated risk in a hand of poker. So for these two, up next, you will find, I'm excited to get to introduce you to our asset management team. These two take care of our portfolio of homes that Montanans can afford, as well as keeping them safe and healthy for years to come. For Erin Ojala, our asset manager, spades will always hold a special place in her heart. The strategy and teamwork make it one that she is excited to pass down from generation to generation. Tori Reschfeld, our asset manager, can be found of an evening with friends who her friends will be losing another round of cover your assets to her strategic play. So Tori, do just be careful when you're playing that with her. She will win. All right. So our next team, we have near and dear to my heart, the HomeOwnership Center. These folks spend their days working on all of our programmatic offerings, providing that one-on-one help to our community members throughout the state. This group is not one to be found inside. They're not an indoor group of people. So first up, we have Katie Sadowski, our financial educator. She has successfully descended a 20-foot waterfall in her kayak. Yeah, that's right. These folks are not sitting still. They're getting out there. Alex Ramsing, our new homebuyer educator here at Homeword. has found himself, he is an avid bicycle fan and will not only take you on a ride, but can fix your bike if it breaks. So he's always good in a pinch to have around. We're so excited to welcome him to our staff. Jeannie Robb, our administrative specialist, keeps us all grounded every day. All of us here on staff, we could not do it without her. And to find her balance in making sure that we make sure to help find her balance, she has an avid yoga practice that she does every morning. And then myself, Julie Pavlish, for those of you who haven't met me, I am our operations and program director here at the organization. And it is my privilege to try to keep up with this team every day. They provide me with energy, inspiration, and knowledge. And for myself, the water calls with my bi-weekly swims being an absolute necessity just to keep my energy levels up. And then we have one more team that I want to introduce you all to before our fun. And lastly, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce this dynamic duo, our fundraising communications team. With these two making sure that as many people as possible know who we are and what it is that we do, and the importance of their mission and of our values of that mission. There's never a dull moment with this team. Andy, our communications manager, is always on the move. She is not only our sustainable commuting captain, she has taught women's boxing and both washes and practices MMA. So cool. Jacqueline Fluellen, our fundraising manager, has not met a sport that she won't at least give it a try. Most likely she's going to love it. But this year, her goal is to try to find her favorite cross-country skiing track. So if anybody has good ideas for her, make sure you give them to her because we all know that that's one of her goals. And on that thing, for the upcoming rest of the year into our winter and early spring, I am honored to be able to invite you all to some upcoming events so that we can see your faces in person as well as on screen. So next Tuesday, December 10th, I hope you all can join us at our holiday party. We're going to do an open house here at the Solstice Conference Center on Liberty Lane. And I hope everybody has this on their calendars. If not, take a second right now, mark it down, 4 to 6. We'll have beverages and cheer, and you will get to see all of these beautiful faces there in person, helping us celebrate as we go into this holiday season. And don't forget, while you're in those calendars, to mark yours for this springtime. Our Sustainable Communities Benefit is coming up on Wednesday, March the 5th. I know that seems like a long time away, but it's going to be here before we know it. So just block it out now. Put in your RSVP. That will be from noon to 1, and we will have more details coming out in our newsletters. Make sure you follow us in your email to get those details as they come out. And I think there was one more too. Of course. Jack, do you want to take this one?
Yep. I was just typing it in the chat, but we are $405 away from our goal of the $2,000 match that our generous board provided. You know, the stories that we get to hear every day, we try to communicate through our annual report and our social media. You know, we transform lives, and it's through our classes and education and the ability for people to pay off debt and plan for their future families. It's the homes that we provide that people are able to afford and not overspend on, and be able to, you know, squirrel away that money or provide other basic needs in their life. So just, you know that every dollar that you give today goes towards that. And we're just excited that you got the whole recap of a lot of what we do in a year. So I appreciate you being here. Yeah, pass it back to you, Julie.
Jack, thanks for that. And really, we could not do it without all of the help of our supporters. I think that is, we do this together. This isn't something any one of us can do by ourselves. So thank you all for your support as well, monetarily, in your word of mouth, and all of the ways you help us accomplish that mission every day. So now we are available for questions. So if anybody has any questions, if you could raise your hand, I will make sure that I call on folks. We have our experts in areas here, and I will also monitor those if you want to put them in the chats. Any questions? Oh, wait. Patricia, did I see your hand up? Okay, Miss Patricia, I see that hand. Go ahead and unmute for us.
Yeah, that was a very interesting presentation. Thank you all, and thank you for the work you do for the good of our community. I know from personal experience it's very effective. So I was wanting to ask Heather, if she's still on, about, do you all track the differential between the return on your projects when you use all these sustainable methods as compared to conventional methods of utilities and building materials and stuff like that? I'm just curious.
Fair question. Thanks, Patricia. I will say that we have tried over the years to quantify that. We've had, the industry changes so fast. We just know inherently that it's the right thing to do, and it costs people less to live in their homes. And so we have worked with our architects to do kind of how fast things will pay off. And we try to actually look at the projects as the building envelope first, then systems, like what kind of mechanical systems, heating, all of that. And then solar panels are kind of like icing on the cake. That's been our rule of thumb, but we don't have hard metrics on the savings currently. We have tried and made arguments to our housing funders to do our best to quantify that. It's just kind of been hit or miss over the years. I don't know if I answered your question, but I just wanted to, it's complicated, but we know it's the right thing to do.
Let me
That's
just pitch
great.
in
Thank
here a
you.
little bit, Heather.
Please, Julie, thank you.
On Sweetgrass Commons, that project met the requirements for enterprise green communities. And one of those requirements was, in fact, tracking the energy use for each apartment. And we compared that to the average energy use for similar size apartments, and found that our residents in general were spending about 80% of the energy that was being used by average apartments, average newer apartments, so that there'd be some comparison. So we have, at different points in time, we had a Vista volunteer for a while who did exactly that, who tracked the solar generation and how much savings that generated. We don't do it consistently all the time because we just don't have the capacity for that, but we have done different snapshots in time. So we do have some hard data, but that has only supported our desire to continue building sustainably and with energy efficiency.
Thank you, Julie. I really appreciate the support on that. I do remember back in the day on Fireweed, we did switch from tenant paid utilities to owner paid utilities and back. It was interesting. People use 30% more energy if they're not paying the bills. So that was another exercise where we want to make sure people have, really affordable utilities, but are paying those and managing their heat and cool costs. Just anecdotal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. That was a great question. Any other inquiring minds out there? Folks, just another moment. And then, Krissa, I will probably have you lead us home.
Yeah, absolutely. Jacqueline, do you have any other additional updates on the fundraising?
We are still sitting at that 405 goal. I do know that there is another 500 coming in soon. So I do think we're going to hit it. But yeah, I'll post that link one more time if folks are feeling like they want to get involved today. And yeah, just thanks again for all of your support, showing up, learning about what we're doing.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely. Everyone have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Be sure to head to that link. Jacqueline posted it in the chats.